was once a queen sitting by her window, sewing on a cold winter's day. Snowflakes drifted down like tiny white feathers, and as she pricked her finger with her needle, 3 drops of blood fell onto the snow. She looked at the red against the white and sighed. I wish for a daughter with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. Not long after, the queen gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, just as she had wished. She named her Snow White, but sadly, the queen did not live long after her daughter was born, and so the little princess grew up without her mother's warmth. The king remarried a woman who was beautiful but vain and cruel. She had a magic mirror, and every day she would ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" And the mirror would always reply, "You, my queen, are the fairest of them all." But as Snow White grew older, her beauty blossomed. Her skin was as pale as snow, her lips as red as a rose, and her hair as dark as the midnight sky. One day, when the queen asked her mirror the same question, the mirror whispered back, "Queen, you are fair, but it is true. Snow White is fairer than you." The queen's heart filled with jealousy. She could not bear the thought of someone being more beautiful than her. And so she ordered a huntsman to take Snow White deep into the forest and to never let her return. Snow White, innocent and kind, walked beside the huntsman, unaware of his terrible orders. But when they reached the heart of the forest, the huntsman's heart softened. He could not harm the sweet girl. "Run, Snow White, run far away and never return to the castle," he whispered, his voice full of sorrow. Snow White ran through the deep, dark forest, trees whispering in the wind, shadows stretching long in the fading light. She was frightened, lost, and alone. But then, just as the night fell, she saw a tiny cottage hidden among the trees. Its windows glowed warmly, like a beacon in the dark. She stepped inside. Everything was so small. Little chairs, a tiny table, a perfectly neat little bed. Who could live here? She wondered. Exhausted, she curled up in the bed and fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. As the moon rose high in the sky, the owners of the cottage returned. 7 little men with beards as white as clouds and heads as bright as autumn leaves. They stepped inside and gasped. "Someone has been sitting in my chair," said one. "Someone has eaten from my plate," said another. And then the youngest dwarf pointed. "Look, someone is sleeping in our bed." Snow White stared and blinked her eyes open, seeing their kind faces. She sat up and smiled. She told them her story about the wicked queen, about how she had run through the dark forest where you will be safe. But be careful. The queen is clever and may still seek you out." Snow White promised to be cautious, and in return, she kept their home warm and bright, singing as she cooked and cleaned. Filling their cottage with joy, but far away in the castle, the queen stood before a magic mirror once more. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of them all?" And the mirror whispered back, "Queen, you are fair, it is true. But Snow White, beyond the mountains, with the 7 dwarves, is still fairer than you." The queen's eyes darkened. "She still lives," she hissed. Disguising herself as an old woman, she traveled deep into the woods, carrying a poisoned apple, its skin glistening red like a drop of blood. When Snow White saw the old woman at her door, she did not recognize her stepmother. "Dear child," the old woman croaked, "take this apple, a gift of kindness." Snow White hesitated, but the apple looked so sweet, so tempting. She took a single bite, and as soon as the fruit touched her lips, she fell to the ground, her breath still, her eyes closed, as if in a deep sleep. The dwarves returned to find her lying still, cold as snow. They wept, for they believed she was gone forever. But she was so beautiful, even in sleep, that they could not bear to bury her. Instead, they laid her in a glass coffin so they could always see her face. One day, a prince, traveling through the woods, saw the sleeping girl. He was struck by her beauty and felt a deep sorrow in his heart. With great gentleness, he leaned down and placed a soft kiss upon her lips. And then, as if by magic, her eyes fluttered open. The spell was broken. The poison had vanished. She was alive. The dwarves cheered, and the prince took Snow